Simon, good evening. Are you shocked by the revelations that the Daily Telegraph have put out today, or is this pretty much what you would have expected?
To be honest, Nigel, it's what we've suspected from the start. I mean, you can go back to prior to April. That I know this has been said from April. Prior to that, from March, where I couldn't get a test for a resident I suspected of having COVID for love nor money from anywhere.
Yeah. And did you, what happened in your care home? Did you suffer with people coming into your particular care home who were COVID positive?
We did, Nigel. We had a resident that came out of hospital that wasn't tested prior to any testing. The exact person I was talking about trying to get hold of a test. In the following 10 days, we had 7 deaths, of which I suspect probably 6 out of the 7 could be attributed to COVID.
And yet, Simon, isn't it astonishing that, we're learning as a wider public things that you have known and experienced firsthand. We're learning about this from leaks, not from a proper, full, official government inquiry. This is outrageous, isn't it?
Oh, I think it's an absolute disgrace. I think that it's a slap in the face to all the residents, to their families, to people who've lost people, not only in care homes, but in hospitals and the like. And it's just, we knew this pandemic was coming, Nigel. We knew we could see it sweeping across nations, across continents, regardless of age or anything. There was nothing in there that would say it would affect people more than most. We knew the people that we were looking after were the people that are most at risk, and nothing was done, and there was very little help, very little advice, very little guidance. Too little, too late.
Well, in that regard, as I say, I don't approve of the manner of these leaks, but in that regard, perhaps if we're learning things that we might have to wait a very long time for in the inquiry, perhaps that is, on balance, a good thing. What's done is done. We can't bring people back in your care home or elsewhere. But there is, I think, one very important thing, that we learn lessons for any future kind of major flu outbreak or pandemic. Do you think we're in a position yet, in your sector, your key sector, to have learned anything?
I think as a sector, Nigel, we have learned a lot. We learned how to manage COVID far quicker than the government were giving the guidelines out as to what we should and shouldn't do. We learned the hard way, and sadly, that's not really the way to go about it. I know that there was a disbandment of a government group that were there to tackle pandemics and serious illnesses and viruses, because it was expected to come at some point in December, prior to the actual to COVID commencing and coming over to this country. I think it's something that all we ever ask from our staff is that they're truthful, they're honest, and if they've made a mistake, that they hold their hands up. And this is something, sadly, we aren't seeing from the government. We aren't, and I don't expect them to ever really see the whole and true truth.
Well, I have to say, Simon Walls, I'd rather share that, and I think perhaps the biggest anger of all is that we know big mistakes were made, and yet nobody is being held to account, which is awful. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story, your sad story.